Good morning. My name is Brent Lonis. I'm honored to be the Vice Chairman for the North Dakota Petroleum Council, and I truly do appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with all of our members, and I look forward to continuing that over the next several years. Our next speaker this morning is Troy Downing. Troy is a Montana Republican candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives. We are very fortunate to have Troy here today to share his thoughts with us. The Montana congressional race is one of those races that will be probably a determining factor in which party holds the majority in the House and the Senate. Having Troy here to share his thoughts is critically important for North Dakota, and it's vitally important for our industry. So with that said, please help me in welcoming Troy to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're all brave to be here this early and listening to a politician. You know, a lot of people don't understand the root of that word. I'm sure a few of you do, but politics, comes from a Greek root, poly, meaning several or many, and ticks, meaning, small blood-sucking insects. So happy to be here this morning. I'm Troy Downing, and currently I am the Montana State Auditor. And what I do in Montana, I regulate insurance and securities, and I'm on the Board of Land Commissioners. And so that's who I am. I'll talk about that a little bit. And I'm really, really happy to be here in North Dakota. My family's actually immigrated to North Dakota, so they're from Iceland, and my great-grandmother decided that she needed to find a warmer place, so northeastern North Dakota seemed to be the warmest place she could find, so do have some roots here and happy to be here. So a little bit first about my background. I think it's important to understand because it informs, my decision-making and how I see the world and what I want to, accomplish in Congress. So, first of all, I started out in education. I was a research scientist at the Courant Institute of Mathematical Sciences at New York University. And I left there to do a startup company that I successfully merged with another nascent startup company called Yahoo back in the 90s. And that was a life changer, being a poor kid, grew up in mostly a single-parent family. And to be able to have that kind of success, was not lost on me. The fact that in America you can come from, any background, and if you're willing to actually show up and work hard, you can, really do amazing things. And so after Yahoo, I was involved in tech venture for a while until I had another big life change, and that was September 11th. And after September 11th, I looked at my journey and thought, where else in the world could you do what I was able to do? And, God bless America. And, I was called to service then. And I'm a little embarrassed to say that it took something, so significant to, rattle my cage. But I really thought, this country's been good to me. What have I done to deserve it? And I didn't have a good answer. And so right after September 11th, I walked into a recruiter's office. I joined the Air Force, went into a combat search and rescue squadron, did a couple of tours to Afghanistan. And that kind of led into the next phase of my life. Where I started a national commercial real estate company and a broker-dealer associated with that. So we were basically raising money through the independent broker-dealer networks and then built an insurance company on top of that. And so that kind of led to my current office of being the regulator of securities and insurance because I actually have a securities and insurance background. I think I'm the first one in Montana that has that background. And so that part's pretty obvious. We're basically a consumer protection agency and, make sure that we're making it easy for business to do business in Montana, and I think we've been very successful doing that. And the only constitutional duty I have in that office is I'm a land board commissioner, and so we do, manage our state trust lands, do all the things that you would do with land. We do oil and gas leases, we do natural resource development, we do ag leases, we do timber management, all the stuff that we do with our dirt, with a goal of making sure we don't deplete the assets and make sure that we are using those funds to fund public education. And so that's that role right there. Some of the things that are germane, to the energy sector and things that I think about a lot that I've had to deal with in my current office is, both on the insurance side and the security side. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this and really the pressures that I've had to fight in my office on, I'm just going to say ESG policies and what that's done to, or threatened to do to the energy sector, to the agricultural sector, to a bunch of things that I regulate in my office. And some of them have been, pretty eye-opening. One is on the insurance side. And, a lot of insurance, the domestics are reinsured, so there's these big reinsurance companies, and a lot of these are European. And they're starting to pull back from what they want to write or take risk on. And some of that's kind of scared me because it has had, some implications in the agriculture and energy sector. And so at the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, we had a meeting a couple of years ago now with one of these big reinsurers, and they were talking about their goals moving forward and the risk that they were pulling out of. And the first thing that they said was, they were pulling out of risk dealing with oil and gas. And of course, coming from Montana, that kind of made the hair on the back of my neck stick up a little bit. And then they said they were pulling out a risk dealing with human rights violations. And I'm going, okay, I think I can get behind that. And then they said they were going to pull out a risk dealing with animal rights violations. And I thought that was a little odd. So when they gave their presentation, the light from Montana pops up. And I asked my question. I said, well, thank you for being here because it's important that we understand, where you're coming from. So that we can, deal with that directly. And I said, well, one of the things you said really scares me. I said, I come from a state with 1 million people and 2.5 million cows, and we plan on eating them. Is that going to be a problem? And they said, we're not sure. And so that's the kind of stuff that we're dealing with on the insurance side. And so a lot of people have asked why the insurance commissioner from Montana is involved with the International Association of Insurance Supervisors. And it's so that we have a voice with these international or these European reinsurers saying the United States of America is the strongest, biggest insurance market on the planet. We need to make sure that we have a seat at the table and we are guiding things that will negatively affect us. So, that's been an interesting journey. And I think there has been, some response to that, but we're still in the thick of this and fighting this. And so then I go on to the security side. So I put on my securities commissioner hat, and I'm dealing with Gary Gensler, the Biden Association's director of SEC, and they're trying to push in the investment world these mandatory climate disclosure requirements. And at first glance, you're saying, well, hey, Chairman Gensler, your job is to protect, investors. That's your job, not to deal with this. Why are we going down this path? Because first of all, the level of granularity was impossible to achieve. It was an expensive thing for them to do. And at the end of the day, really what they're trying to do is create criteria that allows them or allows others to easily blacklist industry that they don't want to invest in or make money available to, and to greenwash the ones that they want to promote, which is, very, very dangerous. So we've been very vocal against, the rules that have been proposed by the Biden administration, by Gary Gensler and the SEC, because one of the things that really scares me is with a lot of, I'll just say, climate alarmists, if they can't take you down through the front door, they're going to come from the back door. And that's something that we need to remain cognizant of, because what's the easiest way to shut something down? With the two things I just said, if you deny access to capital markets and you deny access to insurance, you've effectively shut it down from the back door rather than the front door. So that's something that I've been dealing with in my current office, and I plan on taking that same fight to D.C. Talking a little bit about my background, there's a couple of things that are incredibly important to me. First of all, preservation of the American dream. For a poor kid from a single-parent family to be able to do what I was able to do is not lost on me. Making sure that we can continue to be that shining beacon on the hill. And then the other thing is national security. National security is incredibly important to me. And a lot of the conversation that we have on national security right now, is the southern border, a porous southern border. We have, basically, no border at all at the south. We've got millions of people crossing, and they're not just economic refugees from South America, Central America. We've got bad actors from other countries that are adversary to the United States crossing. It's dangerous. A lot of people ask me why, on a northern border state, I'm so concerned with the southern border. It's because in Montana it's affecting us. We have cartel gangs operating in Montana. We have our law enforcement running ragged. We have a fentanyl and methamphetamine problem, and we have a human trafficking problem. And that's all coming from the southern border. But the bigger part, going back to national security, is I was down at the border a few months ago, and I was down in Ajo in Arizona at the Border Patrol station down there. And the wall just ends there, the physical wall. And these folks just walk around, they walk onto the U.S. side, and they wait to be picked up. They're basically processed and then released on their own recognizance. And these were West Africans, Middle Easterns, they were Chinese, they were not, Central and South Americans. And so where are these people disappearing to, and what are they planning on doing? That's a big concern of mine. But another thing that's talked about less that I think about a lot on the national security side is, first of all, food security. Food security is national security. Throughout the history of man, if you want to bring a country down, you make it so it can't feed itself. And so I'm really concerned that we are protecting our agricultural sector, that we're not losing production agriculture to foreign adversaries, that we continue to be able to produce not just what we need as a nation, but continue to be feeding the world as we have been. It's important to our economy. It's important to our national security. And then finally, energy security. Energy security is national security. We need to be able to produce reliable, affordable energy and not rely on anybody else to produce that. And that is a huge national security issue, and it's something that I think we need to continue to promote and continue to support, because I think about this not just what it means to the economy in my state. Obviously, I'll be representing the state of Montana. Obviously, that's meaningful to the economy here in North Dakota, and it's meaningful to the prosperity of the United States of America. And one of the things that keeps coming up with folks that want to just derail everything that we're doing in traditional energy sources is they're not considering transition risk. They're not considering what this does to the American dream, going back to one of my earlier talking points. And what do you do if you flip this switch and get an instant change in what we're doing to produce energy in this country? Is you make it, what do we care about? Affordability, reliability. If you make it unreliable and unaffordable, that adversely affects all of us, but it particularly affects the middle class and below, because you get to the point where you can't afford to heat your home. You can't afford goods and services. How's that transported? Diesel fuel. You can't afford to put gas in your car. So it gets to the point where we have a real risk of, rather than being able to live that American dream, you're dependent on the government for just basic sustenance. And that scares me. Nobody's talking about that transition with all these like crazy ideas of switching. I mean, there's for as long as we can look into the future, we need to continue to develop reliable and affordable energy, and nothing is competing with oil and gas and coal and our traditional fossil fuels that we're developing right now. So that cost of living, again, goes against the American dream that I care so much about. So people ask, about what I want to do in Congress. Now, first of all, I want people that are going to show up and actually do the work. I'm tired of people that are going to draw a line in the sand and are willing to burn the country down if they don't get their way. I mean, the problem is we've got a lot of folks right now that are going into a football game thinking, here's our play. We're just going to do Hail Marys, 100-yard passes. That's all we're going to do. Maybe every once in a while you catch one, but, usually you don't. You're not going to win a game doing that. I mean, we need to work together as a team, small plays, get the ball down the field in the right direction, and by all means never tackle your own team members. And I think that's a problem that we have right now in Congress that we need to address. The committees that I'm hopeful for, financial services, is one, and financial services is what I've done in the private sector. It's what I do as a regulator now. It's something that I'm good at. I always tell people, don't do what you like, do what you're good at, because if you continue doing what you're good at, you'll eventually have the means to do what you like. And that's something that I am good at. And some of the stuff, tying in my role now as a regulator and my background in technology is, the brave new world of distributed ledgers and crypto and all the things that we need to deal with that. So in my office now, as a criminal justice agency and a regulator, we were the tip of the spear in the state regulators going after one of the biggest, failures in that space that we've seen in recent history with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. And so my goals, on financial services is to make sure that, the United States of America continues to be an innovator and open to innovation, but puts in a framework so that that sort of thing can't happen anymore. And one of the interesting conversations, and it was mentioned in the previous panel, is as we move into that brave new world, is how we're going to supply the energy to do that as those demands get higher and higher and higher, especially in crypto mining and in these new technologies. The other committee that I'm vying for is natural resources. Again, it's what I do now. It's what I'm good at. It's what I understand. And so I'm pushing for that one very, very strongly. And then if I fail in getting my first committee picks, then energy and commerce is also one that's high on my list. We need to continue supporting our energy sector, and I've told you all the reasons that I'm on board doing that. We need to continue development, exploration. We need to continue moving the needle forward. And I think that Americans are amazing innovators and will continue to improve in that space. And, I think that we need to really educate, the public that these are, this is the future and this is something that contributes to the human condition, to the American dream, and to, our quality of life here. Since I am now past my time, I'm just going to go really quickly into my race. So I am the Republican nominee for Montana's 2nd Congressional District, and that's the eastern 3/4 of the state. So it's where our energy is, it's where our agriculture is, and I'm really excited about that. My Democrat opponent, John Driscoll, is a former state legislator and a former public service commissioner, and we had one candidate forum a few weeks ago where he stated one of his big positions is on replacing traditional energy, and got as crazy as suggesting that BNSF get rid of their diesel-powered locomotives and replace them with nuclear electric locomotives. So I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but that's who's on the other side of this. And since I have run out of time, I'm just going to say I'm really honored to be here. I'm going to be your friend. I believe in this sector and supporting it. I've already been fighting. I always tell people, don't listen to what politicians say, look and see what they've done. I've been, very active in supporting, energy in my current role. I think it's important. And for anybody, I know we're going into a break now, anybody who has questions for me, I'll just be in the room, come say hi. And if you need to get a hold of me, you can just email me, troy@troydowning.com. I'll send you my phone number. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak. And you have a great day, and God bless you all.